Pakistan secures more than $9 billion of pledges for post-flood recovery. Promised aid will not alleviate energy shortages and cash crunch, analysts say. International lenders and governments have pledged more than $9 billion to help Pakistan recover after catastrophic floods last year displaced tens of millions and hit the country's already struggling economy, which is facing an energy crunch and dwindling foreign reserves. After a donors conference in Geneva on Monday hosted by UN Secretary-General António Guterres and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, Islamabad, said it had lined up pledges of $4.2 billion from the Islamic Development Bank, $2 billion from the World Bank and $1 billion from Saudi Arabia to help it rebuild from the floods, which affected more than 33 million people. The calamity was the latest in a series of blows over the past year to hit Pakistan's economy, which is already running short of cash and has prompted the government to enforce cost-saving measures such as energy rationing and companies to slash production. The US, EU, UK, China and Germany also promised aid on Monday in what Pakistan's Minister of Information and Broadcasting Maryam Aurangzeb called a generous outpouring from the international community. But Pakistan had estimated that it would need $16.3 billion for flood relief, and the wider economic picture is even more desperate. The country's foreign exchange reserves have dwindled to $5.6 billion, down from $10 billion in June and covering just 1 month's worth of imports, according to official figures. In recent days, Pakistani media, without naming sources, have widely reported the number has fallen to $4.5 billion after a $1.2 billion repayment to United Arab Emirates banks. Analysts said that while the aid would help Pakistan recover and adapt to climate change-related disasters, the funds would do little to alleviate the immediate cash crunch. The donor pledges are specific and long-term and should go toward rebuilding the areas and lives devastated by the summer's floods, not shoring up foreign reserves, said Madiha Afzal, a fellow with the Brookings Institution in Washington. Pakistan's reserves have been at a precarious position since before the floods and are teetering at around 1 month's imports again. Inflationary pressures, the fallout of Russia's war in Ukraine and the floods have combined to create perhaps the greatest economic challenge Pakistan has ever seen. Afzal added. Pakistan's government has taken steps to protect limited resources, last week ordering shopping malls and markets to close by 8:30 p.m. to conserve energy. Millet Tractors, Pakistan's biggest farm machinery producer, shut down production, citing reduced demand for tractors and cash flow constraints. The State Bank of Pakistan has restricted companies' access to letters of credit to conserve cash. Imran Khan, the former prime minister ousted by parliament in 2022, has warned of the danger of default if Pakistan cannot secure additional financing from the IMF, which last year reauthorized a stalled $7 billion assistance program initially agreed in 2019. But the lender has withheld the next $1 billion tranche of support as it pushes Islamabad to adopt austerity measures such as cutting spending and raising prices on subsidized gas and energy. Ishaq Dar, Pakistan's finance minister, has repeatedly dismissed the possibility that the country might default on its foreign debt. Our foreign exchange reserves by end June would be much better than you think, he told journalists last week. Dar met IMF officials on the sidelines of Monday's donors conference, where they discussed challenges to regional economies in the wake of climate change, and the Pakistani finance minister reiterated the commitment to complete the fund program. According to a ministry statement, regional neighbor Sri Lanka, with debts totaling $51 billion mostly owed to private lenders, stopped repaying its loans in May, becoming the first Asian country in decades to default. Since Dar took over the finance ministry in September, Pakistan has managed the rupee to dollar exchange rate, which slowed the currency's depreciation but damaged the real economy by making dollars badly needed by companies for their operations even more scarce. There's undoubtedly a default risk, especially if the State Bank of Pakistan persists with unofficial currency pegging, said Javed Hassan, founding chair of the Economic Advisory Group. Even if that is removed and Pakistan concludes its IMF review successfully, default risk over the next 6 to 12 months will persist. Pakistan chronically spends beyond its means, analysts said, and thus relies heavily on foreign borrowing, leading to periodic crises and bailouts from the IMF and bilateral lenders led by Gulf countries and China. Pakistan's total foreign debt and liabilities stands at about $100 billion. Ending ties with the IMF would pave the way for Pakistan to line up further financing from other bilateral lenders, keep servicing its debt and pay for energy this year. However, Islamabad's relations with the Washington-based multilateral lender were strained last month when Dar appeared to play down their importance. "I don't care if they come," the finance minister said, referring to the lender's ninth review, which has not been completed. "I don't have to plead before them." Acrimony between Sharif and Khan's bitterly opposed political camps has exacerbated the economic crisis. Khan last week called for an early election and his Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party warned of the dangers to the economy.